number 1 is Blue Jay in our Birds of a Feather mystery quilt along. Hey, this is Carrie with Canary Quilts, and this is block number 1 in what I'm calling the Birds of a Feather mystery sampler quilt along. I guess you could call it a sampler. My mom told me that, and I didn't even realize it till she said, oh, this is probably a sampler. And I'm like, all right, it is a sampler. What I am doing is, if you follow me, you know that I'm part of a lot of fabric clubs. So I am part of the Salad of the Month Club at Fat Quarter Shop, and this year their colors each month are going to be themed by a bird. First month happens to be Blue Jay, so we got all these beautiful blue fabrics, and I also wanted to do something with these. They suggested a quilt. I didn't really want to do that particular quilt, so I'm going to make my own, and I wanted to do bird named blocks. So we're gonna do 12 bird named blocks, and I'll release them every month. I'm gonna try to release them on the 20th of every month. That gives Fat Quarter Shop time to send me the fabrics, because I know the bird for each month, but I don't know the fabrics for each month. So I'll have to figure that out when I get them. And I am going to release a bird themed or bird named block each month to go with the colors. And this first month we have the Blue Jay colors, and I did darting birds. So darting birds is really kind of versatile. You can see back here I'm doing this one. This is from a sew sampler, and you can see that they're bigger blocks. They're in different colors, so it makes it look very different. These are not going to be put together. They're going to be set apart, so that's how they'll look. But I took this one, and I took 4 of them and put them in a block and made this beautiful pinwheel using the Blue Jay color. So that's how I did our first block, darting birds. And do you ever wonder how blocks get their names? I've always wondered that, because I'll look at a block and go, I don't know how that name translates into the block. But I can kind of see with darting birds that it looks like birds taking off from the ground down here. If you want to follow along, you can hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You get notified every time I put one of these out. I am going to show you how to grab the pattern for this. I have a link down below to the blog post, which will show you how to put this together and explain like the finishing of it around here, like how much you may need in the end. I am using SX linen as my background, my sashing. Not my background, my sashing and my border. And then what I'm doing is these triangles are going to go in each sashing, and I'm utilizing the colors of that month in my triangles. So when you see the finished quilt, it shows one color as the border, but I'm probably going to use all the colors from the year in the border. That's probably how I'm going to do it. So this block, this individual corner right here has 10 colors in it. I get 12 colors in my bundle. So I use the other 2 colors here. And so I have all 12 colors in my block. So I'm going to try to do that each month. So if you want to follow along, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, click the links down below. It really does help the channel out. You can find out more about this block over on my website, and you can see kind of how the layout of the finished quilt's going to be, and see if you want to join along. Or you can just follow along and see what the quilt's going to look like in the end. But I really like this. It turned out really pretty. I'm excited to do this year. So, but anyway, let's get started with our Blue Jay block. You can get this pattern and other patterns at our library access page at canaryquilts.com. Click on the library access, and it will take you to the page where you can sign up and get the password to get into the free resource library, or you can click there if you have the password. Enter the library, and you can type in the password at this time, and it'll give you access to all our free patterns that we have up there. This pattern and other patterns are available on this website for you to download. All right, to get started on our Blue Jay block, which is the first block in my Birds of a Feather mystery quilt that I'm doing. in 2023. And each block is themed off a bird because I'm part of the Fat Quarter Club Shop's Solid of the Month Club, and they're theming them off birds. So January 2023 is Blue Jay. And we've got all these beautiful colors here in confetti cottons. You can just pick out some blue colors and have fun with me. Anyway, need to head over to my website like I just told you and grab the pattern. And I just kind of want to go through this real quick with you. There's 12 colors. I've used 10 of them. And I've numbered the colors. So it's a darting birds pattern, which is only a quarter of it, but I put 4 of them together to give you this pinwheel look. And so we've just got a bunch of B's and A's. The A is the big triangle, the B's are the little triangles. So over here in this one, I put the number of the color where I put it. And then down here is the number of the color. And the reason I put numbers is because these are numbered right here. So I kept my fabrics in order, and then I pulled out number 5, which is the big triangle. So that's why I have it labeled 5 here. And you can do the same thing with your fabrics, you know, so you know that your number 5 fabric is the big triangle. And then over here on the B's, which are the small triangles, I have those numbered by my fabrics also. So this is my number 2 fabric, which corresponds here, and it goes up here in this corner. Let's see, my number 11 fabric is this one. It goes right there. So that's kind of how I've done it, just so you can maybe keep track. It definitely helped me keep track because I wanted to have symmetry in all of my blocks in the colors so that I knew which color went where. So that's how I did that. That's why you see numbers here, and then I have the numbers up there. And then the rest of it just goes through and tells you how to construct the block. And then I've got the sashing back here, how to cut it and make it, putting the entire block together. And then I also put in the Blue Jay card so you could see how I was referencing it with what the quilt will possibly look like at the end. I'm going to change up these diamonds here. When I drew it up, I had one color, but I'm going to put these, or not diamonds, triangles, around each block is going to be from the colors of that month. So each block will have different colors around it. I may do a scrappy border here with all the colors in the end. I'll have to see. Or you can do one color. It's up to you how you want to do it, but I think that's how I'm going to do it. And then this background fabric for the border and the sashing that I'm using is Essex linen, which I've used before in quilting, and I love it. It's so pretty. And I've got a link to this fabric down below also if you want to use the same thing, or you want to take a look at other Essex linens, or, you know, just take a look at what else they've got out there. I chose this neutral color because I'm not sure. You can kind of see the colors that are coming, and they kind of used a neutral color, so that's kind of what I went with too, just so it would blend with all the colors that I hopefully get in the future. Okay, there is the pattern. There's the colors. These are my fat quarters that I got. Like I said, I kept them in order, so I knew when I was pulling a color where it was going to be at the order of my fabrics. Okay. So, to start cutting, number 5 was this blue color. And what you're going to do, since we have 4 darting birds blocks, we're going to need 4 of these big triangles. And you're going to cut a square like this. You'll have a square, and then you'll cut it right on the diagonal on 2 squares, and it'll give you 4 of these large triangles. And then I'm using these alphabeties with the numbers on them so I can keep track here. I don't really have to keep track of the size of the pieces, I just need to keep track of the colors. So 5 and 5. And then with the rest of the colors that I chose, which were 10 of them, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to cut a smaller square, and you're going to cut 2 squares for each color and cut it in half on the diagonal like this, so you end up with 4 triangles. So there's going to be 4 of these also in every. Since they're all symmetrical, they're all the same, we'll have 4 of these small triangles. And here's all the colors that I am using in my quilt. In my block, I should say. And I've got them listed over here. So the colors that I guess I didn't use were 3 and 8, which I cut, but I don't have any use for them, so I'll just set them aside and use them for something else. But when I was talking about the sashing, I am going to use 3 and 8 in the sashing. So 2 of my triangles in the sashing will be this color and 2 will be this color. I'll decide then. It'll probably be one's a short side, one's a long side. We'll see. So that's how my sashing looks, and I'm going to show you how to cut the sashing a little later in the video. So there's my colors, there's my pieces, that's how I got to them. So now we just need to start putting these together in the order that I have them on here. So I used color numbers again to show you how to put these together. So for this block right here, we need 2 and 6. So 2 and 6 are going to get sewn together. This one is going to be 4 and 12. So these 2 will be sewn together. This one is 9 and 7. So these 2 will be sewn together. And then the 3 that are left are going to be added to each row down here. And then we'll end up with that corner. So it's not very hard at all. Just keeping track of the colors is probably the hardest part. So I'm going to set these aside. I have noted on here which way to iron them. It really doesn't matter, but I usually iron towards the dark. So I've got my 9s and my 7s ready to go. And I'm just going to put them together. And if you can tell if there's a front and back to your fabric, sometimes you can, it's hard to see, but you can feel it. Like this one seems to have a softer side. So I'm putting my 2 soft sides together. I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to iron towards, this one is 9 and 7, so I'm going to iron towards the darker blue. So that's how all of these are going to go together. So we'll have 4 sets of half square triangle blocks of these colors. So I'm going to get those sewn. I'm going to get them ironed towards the dark basically, and come back and we'll start putting this together. So I just wanted to show you that I chain pieced my triangles together, but I kept them separately by colors or the numbers of the colors. Because I want to make sure I get it right, that I keep these in the right color scheme. So I just, instead of doing all 12 at once, I just did 4 at once and kept them with their numbers. And I'm going to do the same thing when I iron them. I'm going to take them over and iron these, then group them back with these numbers. Okay, so I've got all my pieces ironed. I've got them stacked with their numbers. Your pieces should measure 2.5 inches, and mine do, so I'm trimming these off. Just trim these tails off, gives us a nice square. And then we'll be ready to put our triangle half unit, whatever you want to call it, together. So, all right, here's the half square triangle units that I've made right here, still numbered. What we need to do is we need to start building this half of our block. So we need to start, and I've got the numbers in here so you know where they go. And I'm going to stack them in 4s because we got to make 4 identical blocks. So I have 4 squares in my 2 6, and my 2 6 is going to be in the upper left corner, with the 2 in the corner. So then we have 9 and 7, and we're going to turn it so that 9 is here and 7 is here. And then our number 11 is going to go, let me get it correct, like this. Then we have our 4 and 12 with the 4 pointing towards the outside. And then we have our 1, and that's going to fit right in there. And then our 10 is going to go down here. Oh, let me get this oriented. There we go. So that's how our half block is going to go together. So what we want to do first is put these 2 together and these 2 together. And I have on my pattern how to iron these. So we'll iron them this way and we'll iron it this way. So that's where we're going to go first. There's no seams to match. So pick your pieces up, and I would suggest pinning them so that you know what side you're sewing when you go over to the machine. And then down here also, you want to, when you put these together, match these 2 corners up right here at the top. And you'll have a tail down at the bottom, right here. Pin the side you need to sew. So important. I say it all the time, and then sometimes I don't do it and I regret it. So pin the side you're going to sew. All right, get these sewn. Iron in the direction that it says in the pattern, and we'll come back and we'll set them in place and add these 2. I've got my pieces sewn and ironed. Ironed this way towards the gray. Iron this way towards the triangle, so that when we put these 2 rows together, these will nest. So all we have left to do is add this triangle to this side, and again line up this corner up here, pin the side you're going to sew, and then down here we're going to add this one to the bottom. So take your piece, flip it over, and again line up this corner right here and pin the side you're going to sew. We are going to be ironing towards the pieces we're adding on both these sets. Okay, there's my 2 rows done. We have 3, but 2. What we want to do is just clip or trim these tails right here. And I'm just going to grab it. And okay, there's my 2 rows done. We have 3, but 2. What we want to do is just clip or trim these tails right here. Okay, so now all we have to do is add these 2 pieces together, and we're going to do that right there at these seams, and they will nest together. So nest those seams, pin it up, sew along here, and then we're going to iron towards this bottom piece right here. So when I come back, our triangle corner piece will be done. All right, there's our triangle corner unit done, and I'm just going to trim this tail right there. And now we are ready to add our big number 5 triangle right down here. This is going to be one big long seam. So let's see the softer side. We'll add it here. There are no seams to match, just match the edges. Pin the side you're going to sew. And then we are ironing towards the big number 5. So that's all there is to that. And our darting bird block will be done. And we can make it a bigger block. All right. There's my number 5 piece put on, iron towards the number 5 piece. I've trimmed the tails off the ends. And we're now ready to put the block together, but I don't know, I was like, what does it look like if I did that? That's kind of cool too. Just take a darting birds and just start moving them around. Just to see what it looks like. That's pretty cool, but you would have the same effect if you started adding on to these. So, but what we're doing is we are doing a pinwheel. We want our block to look like that in the end. So, let's get that going. Let's get these in the right order so that we have our pinwheel. So there's our pinwheel. And now we just need to put our rows together. So we'll sew these together and we'll sew these together and always iron towards the big blue number 5 piece. No seams to match. So put these together along that edge, pin it, sew it, iron towards the big blue triangle. There's another variation on this block. If you put them the wrong way, but we need a pinwheel. That's what we need. We need to put it together like that. So I've ironed towards the large triangle. So now we have opposite seams right here, and we can just put these on top of each other, match those seams up, nest them, and then there's no seams to match on this side either. So we'll get this sewn. Hey, I got it right. I didn't say ironed. We'll get it sewn and then we will iron to one side. So there's our Blue Jay block, made from darting bird blocks that are put together into a pinwheel. So it turned out really cool. I like it. I like it a lot. So now I'm going to show you how to do the sashing, and we'll put the sashing on this. All right, here's my pieces for the sashing. And I didn't really number these or label them because it's kind of obvious. This is the short side, this is the long side. So we have 2 short sides and we have a triangle in the middle, so we're going to need 4 cuts of our background. And mine is an Essex linen, which really doesn't have a front or back to it. So if yours has a front or back to it, you'll need to be mindful of that. And then here's my long. It's just the same cuts, just a little bit longer. And then these are for my triangles. And I will have some left over out of this. So what we need to do is we need to cut a 45-degree angle in our pieces. I'm going to do 2 at a time. And if you have a front and back to yours, what you'll need to do is do your 45-degree angle. We're going to be cutting a corner off. You'll need to cut a corner off this side and then a corner off this side if you have a front and back to your material. I don't, so I can cut them the same direction. But what I want to do is, here's my 45-degree line on my ruler. And I'm going to line it up with the bottom of my fabric strip. I'm going to put the corner over here. We only need to cut one side off. I'm putting the corner on the corner of the fabric, and then I'm going to cut that corner off. I'll have some scrap triangles if you want it. My mom loves a scrap triangle. Now, if you do have a front and back, what you'll need to do is on the other 2 pieces, come to the other side. Again, lay your 45-degree angle line on the bottom of your fabric, put the corner of the ruler in the corner of the fabric, and then cut the other corner off. So it's going to look like that. I could have done all 4 because I don't have a front and back to mine. So we are literally going to do the same thing for the larger sashing pieces. And there's our long strip, just like that. So those are ready to go. Now what we need to do with these, I'm going to do both of these at the same time, is we need to cut it on both diagonals to get the correct size of the triangle. So line up your diagonal, your ruler on the diagonal, and cut it. line up the ruler on the other diagonal and cut it. There we go. We end up with 4 from each one, and we only need 2, so these are going to be probably given to my mom. She loves a scrap triangle. So there's some scraps. Set those aside, and like I said, I cut 3 and 8 because I didn't know if I'd use them. I have those as scraps, and we are ready to go. So these are the 2 colors. Let's see, let's just do the short side in the light color, and that's my long side. So what we want to do is we want to take one of these. We can actually do both at the same time, but what we want to do is we want to take one of these, and I am going to mark 1/4 of an inch. I'm using this is 1/4 of an inch right here. I'm going to mark it 1/4 of an inch. And it needs to go on here like this. So we'll flip it, and I'm going to put the point of my triangle on that 1/4 inch. So I have a 1/4 inch tail, and then up here I'll have a tail also. And this is the side I want to sew, and I want to iron towards the background strip. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And we could literally do the same thing for the long right now. So we can sew all of these at once. Mark my 1/4 inch. Let's see, it goes in like that. So the corner is going to go right on that 1/4 inch. Mark, and then we'll have a tail at the top. All right, so I've ironed it towards the background, and by marking that 1/4 inch, what we want to achieve is try to get as close to a straight line as we can right here. It needs to go like this. So what we want to do is mark the 1/4 inch on the blue now. And again, I'm going to use this. And then we'll put it like that. We'll put this bottom corner of our sashing on that mark. There we go. So we have a tail up here, and we have a tail down here. So that's how you do this side. We're going to be marking our triangles instead of our background. And then make sure you get it lined up, and then put the bottom part of our sashing on that 1/4 inch mark on our triangle. There we go. Again, iron towards the background. All right, got my sashing done, and I just want to trim these tails off the top. And then we can add it to our block. And we'll be done with our Blue Jay block. Blue Jay. All right, so there's the long, and there's the short. So let's grab our block, and we'll start adding it on. So what I want to do is I want to put this point right here in line with that seam. So just kind of eyeball it, and then we're going to pin it. Then we're going to pin the edges, and we're going to sew, and we're going to iron towards the sashing. All right, here's our short side sashing, and I've ironed towards the sashing, and I'm going to do the same thing here with the long side. Line up that point with the seam, line up the edges, sew, and iron towards the sashing. All right, there's our finished Blue Jay block with the sashing put on it. It turned out really nice. I like it. And I used the colors here in the sashing that I didn't use in the block. So I have all 12 colors from my Solid of the Month Club in there. Oh, it's really pretty. I wonder what all the other blocks are going to look like. All right, there you go. It's not that hard. It's stunning when you put 4 of these together. It turns into this pinwheel, and it's just I think probably the hardest part is making sure if you want symmetry to all your blocks, keeping all these pieces in the same spot. But really, it's not that hard. So I think it's gonna be really fun to do this year. I really like the colors. I'm looking forward to next month, which is hummingbird theme. So that's gonna be some really pretty colors. It's gonna be, I think it's probably gonna be a more variety of colors where this is mostly blues, but I'm not complaining. This turned out beautiful. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for checking out the links down below. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel out. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and you'll see me put this together each month, and you'll see what it looks like in the end. And if you know anybody that might want to do something like this, share this video with them or share my blog post. I'd appreciate it. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.